Yesterday I supposed to read and I was lazy, so please excuse me. Actually, I have taped the first portion of this meta-human, but I have not posted. So I don't feel well today also, but it's no excuse. Therefore, I'm going to continue on chapter 2, but you can hear the voice is not that good. But hopefully you will hear me pretty clearly, okay, because I need to continue reading the book. It should have start from welcome to the house. It's only 2 page. No, not 2 page, only a few pages, so I think I can struggle through this. If I have read it before, because I forgot to put the divider. So anyway, it's on Meta-Human by Deepak Chopra. You can buy his book, buy from Amazon or whichever, because I bought this at Kinokuniya for $79.90. I cannot remember why I bought this book for. Must be very important to me when I seek it out. Okay, Meta-Human is a choice of a lifetime. That is his title actually, and Meta-Human, unleashing your infinite potential. Okay, so the first topic that I read on 2 days ago actually is on Meta-Human is the choice of a lifetime. It's just an overview which I didn't complete, so now I'm going to complete this. Welcome to the House of Illusions. While participating in the everyday world, it isn't possible to see beyond the illusion. Going beyond is needed, which is why the shift to Meta-Human is needed. The only way an illusion can be all-encompassing is if everything about it is deceptive, fooling us about the big things and the little things alike. That's the case here. The human mind has constructed everything to suit itself from the ground up. In a sense, this book was written simply to convince you that your personal reality is totally mind-made, and not just by your mind alone. Having spent a lifetime adapting to the artificial reality you inherited as a child, you have undertaken a journey to discover the differences between reality and illusion. Actually, for me, this is an opportunity because I don't even think about it that whatever we know now is been planted in us. You know, until I was coached, number one. Number two, when I do self-coaching, that's where reality comes to mind, that you can change a lot of things, but you have to start knowing what are you. I need you to ask yourself, right, the question, who are you? Not what you do, how many children you have, what is your parent doing, not that kind of background. Who are you? What is the essence of yourself? So Meta-Human is also touching more on this. I think that's why I picked this book up, but that was about 2 years ago. So I believe I have some sense on certain things. It's only thing I don't know how to solve it. So now I hope with coaching I can solve most of my problem, or not my problem, my issues of understanding, and then at the same time help those who seeking help. If you don't seek the help, I cannot help you, or nobody else can help you except yourself. Just remember, the key is in your hand. To unlock the potential, you have to do the unlocking. Okay, to anyone who accepts the physical world out there as totally real, the notion of a mind-made world seems absurd. It's one thing to be struck by an idea, but quite another to be struck by lightning. The difference is so obvious that you distrust anyone who told you that the two events were the same. But some of the greatest minds have just said just that. This is where the real fascination begins. Max Planck, a brilliant German physicist, was a major figure in the quantum revolution. In fact, he coined the term quantum mechanics. In a 1931 interview with Observer newspaper in London, Planck said, "I regard consciousness as fundamental. I regard matter as derivative from consciousness. We cannot get behind consciousness. Everything that we talk about, everything that we regard as existing, postulates consciousness. In other words, consciousness is fundamental. If that's true, then roses blooming in English gardens spring from the same source as a painting of a rose. That source is awareness, meaning your awareness. Without consciousness, nothing can be proven to exist. Simply by being conscious, you participate in the mind-made world and help create it every day. The beauty of this understanding is that if creation springs from consciousness, we can reshape reality from its source." Planck was not alone in his reinterpretation of reality, away from the physical towards the mental. The whole drift of quantum revolution was to dismantle the common sense view that the world is first and foremost material, solid, and tangible. Another brilliant quantum pioneer, the German physicist Werner Heisenberg, said, "We will observe is not nature itself, but nature exposed to our method of questioning." The implications of this statement are astonishing. Gaze out your window and you might see a tree, a cloud, a sort of grass, or the sky. Plug any of those words into Heisenberg's sentence in place of the word nature. You see a tree because you asked to see a tree. You see a mountain, a cloud, the sky for the same reason. As an observer, everything outside your window comes into being through the questions you are asking. You might not be aware of asking questions, but that's only because they were asked so early on. When toddlers buy their first tree, they test to see what it is. Basically asking, is this hard or soft, rough or smooth, tall or short? What were those green things on the branches? Why do they ripple in the breeze? In this way, applying human consciousness to everything in the universe, we get answers that fit human consciousness, but we don't get reality. Physics dismantles every quality of a tree, its hardness, height, shape, and color, by revealing that all objects are actually invisible ripples in the quantum field. If this discussion seems too abstract, it can be brought very close to home. Your body is being created in a consciousness right this minute. Otherwise, it couldn't exist. Again, Heisenberg can be credited with getting there early. The atoms or elementary particles themselves are not real. They form a world of potentialities or possibilities. But in the common sense world, where the body is our shelter, life support system, and personal vehicle for getting around, defending it becomes necessary. It's too disturbing to think of our body as a mental illusion. The anti-robot argument. Shifting away from the false assumption that the world is solid and physical runs counter to a trend I find increasingly disturbing. Me too. Science persistently tries to prove the human beings are machines, and where this was once just a metaphor for how the body works in all its complex parts, man as machine is being taken more and more literally. We are told that the complexity of human emotions can be reduced to rising and falling levels of brain hormones. Brain areas that light up on a MRI scan supposedly indicate the causation or mechanism behind a person feeling depressed or being prone to criminal behavior, and much more. Besides being brain puppets, we are supposed to believe that our genes program us in powerful ways. to the point that bad genes doom a person to a host of problems from schizophrenia to Alzheimer's. Those examples of predispositions are then extended to behavior and traits like being prone to anxiety and depression. If you need to plant something good in your body, okay? Plant something good in your brain, in your minds. Actually, it's in your minds. You cannot plant anything in the brain. It's just a hardcore thing. It's your mind that is generating the information. Meta-human has many implications, but one of the strongest is to rebuff the notion that human beings are primarily mechanisms. Even though science have a wealth of findings about both genes and the brain, that doesn't make the notion any more valid. The general public isn't aware. For example, the only 5% of disease-related genetic mutations will definitely cause a particular illness. The other 95% of genes raise or lower a person's risk factor and in complex way interact with other genes. Let your genes talk to each other. The public is still stuck at a misconception that a single gene like the so-called gay gene or the selfishness gene exists and creates an irresistible predisposition. This misconception were obliterated when the human genome was mapped. The current picture of DNA is almost the opposite of the public misguided image. DNA isn't fixed. It is a fluid and dynamic, constantly interacting with the outside world and with your inner thoughts and feelings. The notion that your genes run your life is ingrained, even among educated people. So it is eye-opening to review a recent experiment published in December 10, 2018 issue of Nature, Human Behavior. Researchers in the psychology department of Stanford University took two groups of participants and tested them for two genes, one associated with higher risk of becoming obese, the other with higher risk of performing badly in physical exercise. First, I'll focus on the obesity gene. The participants ate a meal and afterward were asked how full they felt. In addition, their blood was tested for level of leptin, the hormone associated with feeling full after a meal. The results were about the same for people genetically proven to obesity and those who weren't. The next week, the same group returned and ate the same meal but with a difference. Half the group was told completely randomly that they have the gene that protects someone from risk for obesity, while the other group was told they had the higher risk version of the gene. To the surprise of the researchers, there was an immediate and dramatic effect. Simply by being told that they have the protective gene, subjects show a lower level of leptin, 2.5 times higher than before. The group who were told they didn't have the protective gene didn't change from their earlier result. What this indicates is that simply being told about a genetic benefit caused people to exhibit the psychology associated with the gene. What the participants believed to be true overrode their actual genetic predisposition, because in some cases the people who thought they were genetically protected actually weren't. The same dramatic result occurred in the exercise experiment. People who were told that they had a gene that produced poor results from exercise displayed the cardiovascular and respiratory signs that such a gene is supposed to produce. Even though they didn't have the at-risk gene merely being told, they did reduce their lung capacity and make them too exhausted to continue running on a treadmill. In short, the body conforms to the mind-made reality. If your physiology produces genetic effects simply by hearing that you have a certain gene, the myth of genes controlling our life is seriously challenged. It's not the genetic programming is irrelevant. The full picture refers to book Super Gene, which I co-wrote with Harvard Genetics geneticist Rudy Tanzi. Oh, she is also a very good writer. I think I have a book. But the reality is as complex as human life itself. Genes are among the host of causes and influences that affect us. How strongly the affect any given person is impossible to predict, and in every area of behavior and health, there is a wide latitude for personal choice. Given an either or choice, you see yourself as a free agent capable of conscious change, rather than a robotic machine run by genes and brain cells. Life is rarely a simple or either or as no. Life is rarely as simple as either or, which is true here as well. But despite the public image fostered by popular science articles, it's not true that a human being is a biological puppet. Far closer to truth is the view that we are conscious agents whose potential for creativity and change is unlimited. We become meta-human by making the life-altering choice to be meta-human. At the meta-human crossroad, I don't expect you to accept this conclusion, not yet anyway. The overall picture needs to be sketched before you make up your mind. Same as coaching, you have to make up your mind. Without realizing it, we are embedded in a performed reality that we began to adapt to in infancy. Everything you perceive at this moment through the five senses, the solid walls of your room, the faint movement of air in your lungs, the brightness of the light streaming in through the window, or emitted by a lamp, is a stimulation, a construct that engulfs you into virtual reality. On the other hand, we are set up, brain, body, and mind, to conform to virtual reality, the result of a collective hoodwinking that has taken many thousands of years to create. This makes things very tricky. A prisoner has an incentive to dig a tunnel to the outside world because he knows that there's something lying beyond the prison walls. The virtual reality you now experience offers nothing on the other side that you can touch, taste, feel, hear, or smell. But something does lie outside virtual reality, which I term meta-reality. Meta-reality is the workshop where consciousness creates everything. It is our source and origin, a field of pure creative potential. Meta-reality is not perceived by the five senses because it's no shape or location, yet is totally accessible, and it offers our only means to escape stimulated reality. Once you realize that you are engulfed in the stimulations, it dawns on you how infinite the creative power of humans really are. We fashion our world using not brick and mortar, but one invisible material, consciousness. In the scientific age, this assertion seems incredible, but it's not. It's incredible if not observed. From the inside, the stimulation creation can be viewed like a movie of the universe unfolding from the Big Bang onward, along a timeline that has taken 13.7 billion years. How can this mind-boggling arena, bounded by time, space, matter, and energy, be essentially fake? To find out, it will take a personal sense of curiosity and a touch of adventurousness to go beyond conventional wisdom. Consciousness is present in every second of our life, yet conventional wisdom takes it for granted. This isn't like missing the forest for the tree. It's like living in the forest without seeing any tree at all. Take the enormous popular book Homo Deus, which overarching theme is the invention of the future. The author, Israeli historian Yuval Noah Harari, wants to offer a new and better starting point for the future. Age-old burdens from the past once seemed inescapable. Harari writes, the same three problems preoccupied the people of 20th century China. Of medieval India and ancient Egypt, famine, plague, and war were always on the top of that list. Many thinkers and poets concluded that the famine, plague, and war must be an integral part of God's cosmic plan or of our imperfect nature. In a burst of optimism, rare among futurists, Harari goes on to write that those problems are essentially solved even though they persist in pockets around the globe. At the dawn of the third millennium, humanity wakes up to an amazing realization. In the last few decades, we have managed to reign in famine, plague, and war. Eagerly, his readers want to accept Harari's vision that on the cosmic scale of history, mankind can lift its eyes up and start looking towards new horizons. Let's look beyond pandemic. Maybe it's not even there. We're thinking about it. And what are these horizons in Homo Deus? Harari takes the reader on a journey through an exciting problems and a roster of possible solutions that futurists love to explore. Only on page 409 does he arrive at consciousness, and then he touts a future dominated by techno-religions. In other words, our evolution is leading toward artificial intelligence and supercomputers that upgrade the raw material of the human brain. Faced with a stupendous intelligence that towers over us, what can we do but worship it? Harari's vision winds up the wrong place because it started in the wrong place. Consciousness belongs on page 1, and the future that evolves consciousness can lead to where humanity should be heading. Every future that has unfolded throughout history has been based on the direction taken by the mind. Artificial intelligence, after all, is another notch on the belt of human intelligence. Therefore, predicting that we will be surpassed by Frankenstein's race of supercomputers is very premature. We need to know our full capacity before taking bets on any future. Until meta-reality become a common experience, being human has not reached its full creative capacity. Settling for a better dream isn't good enough. True. An upgraded illusion is just an illusion. Powerful. In your life, the meta-human survey, the best evidence we have for going beyond is that everyday people are already experiencing meta-reality. One measure of this is a 20-question survey developed by John Astin and David Butlin, which goes by the awkwardly academic title Non-Dual Embodiment Thematic Inventory, or NETI. On a scale from 20 to 100, NETI assesses how people rank themselves on qualities long considered spiritual, psychological, or moral. They include meta-human traits we already value highly because they are so meaningful, as well as other traits that can make life easier to cope with, such as the following: compassion, resilience, propensity to surrender, interest in truth, lack of defensiveness, capacity to tolerate cognitive dissonance, that is, having inconsistent thoughts, beliefs, or attitudes, tolerance for emotional discomfort, gratitude, low anxiety level, authenticity, humility. The traits describe human nature liberated from second-hand social norms and conditioning. When you possess these qualities, you are free to reach a meta-human state of awareness. Take a moment to participate personally. Here's the NETI questionnaire that was used to assess what are often called non-dual experiences, meaning a heightened state of consciousness. You will give yourself a total score of 20 to 100 and we'll proceed from there. So the NETI questionnaire, you can get it in the website. I will put the link so you can share. But if you want to buy the book, you can contact Deepak Chopra's Google and then buy from him, because I'm just reading the book because I have the book, and is related a lot to my coaching thoughts, and also when I do self-coaching, a lot of things that he talked about meta reality makes sense. And this is the first time I'm reading, so every page that I'm reading is new discovery. So thank you for listening. Yeah.